All right, welcome back. We're back, episode 2, Behind the Visor. If you haven't watched episode 1, go up in the top left-hand corner of this video, or right-hand corner. I don't know where these tabs pop up now, but if you want to check that out, go check that out, then come back here. But we're in episode 2. We're basically we're talking about the end of the 2024 season. And obviously, Cat fans, myself, we don't really want to talk about that at all because it wasn't the season that we wanted. Obviously, we went through our struggles that year. And just didn't turn out the way we wanted. So the shift went to the 2025 kind of off season. For me, the biggest thing was moving to Hamilton full time. Luke, I know we kind of talked about that when it happened, which was one of the barriers to not starting the podcast back up because I was just moving to a new place, moving all the way out from the West Coast in California, the beach life, the sunny and 60-degree days that everybody just loves to talk about, to minus 20 and about a foot of snow outside your door from January to March. So that was a very fun transition for me. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. Luke, I know you got experience living in Calgary with the snow, so we're not, you know, you know how it is. You know what the lifestyle's like,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, and it was. I mean, I'm from Seattle, so I'm familiar. Not this sunny and 60 degrees, but used to the coast, and then moving to Canada, it definitely is that you get hit with it pretty quick. But I mean, you
Mhm.
get used to it. I knew something had changed when I got a text from an Ontario area code, and I was like, who could this possibly be? I only know Stavros with the California area code, so
Oh
that was kind
man.
of the sign that he was all in on Hamilton. And I mean, like you said, 2024 wasn't the best season in Hamilton. I don't think anyone's looking back at it with fond memories, but at the same time, February rolls around, a lot of time to kind of ponder and reset, recharge, and the Hamilton Tiger Cats made some pretty big moves about 10 months ago, didn't they?
Oh man, like I remember like being up here and that whole it's different. I think it's different when you live in the States and free agency's going on because like there's obviously not as much, I don't want to, well, banter, whatever you want to call it. The talk is obviously not as big because it's the NFL season. Well, not the NFL season, but the NFL Super Bowl and all that is kind of happening. And yeah, like free agency in the CFL isn't really like a thing down there. So you don't, it's kind of like out of sight, out of mind. It's kind of how I look at it. But yeah, I just remember that time kind of hearing the murmurs, the Kenny Lawlers, the Reggie Stubblefields, those type of names, Taiwan Garbett. Like you start hearing it, you don't know if it's official until the. I mean, I always say until the team posts it on Instagram, regardless if someone posted a signed contract or all that. But once a team posted on Instagram, like it's pretty official. So, I remember that kind of going on. And when all those guys kind of showed up on that free agency signing day, it's Kenny, uh, Reggie Stubblefield, Ty Gar, but meeting those guys for the first time, being able to go kind of take them out for a drink, have some dinner, and just kind of get to know them, who they are, really off the field. Because I mean, on the field, like I know these guys, right? Like I've played against them, kind of seeing what they bring to the table from like a athlete standpoint. But now it's all right. Let's see who you are off the field, and let's show you who I am off the field as well. Because right, everyone has their different views of the big bad scary guy with the dark visor, right? Like I'm sure that's the thing I give off to most people, or the big mean guy, but or small mean guy, I guess, compared to a lot of guys. But I digress. Yeah, like having those guys here and being able to meet them and just kind of see what they bring to the table was like a really cool experience, and just meet who they are. Under the helmet, behind the visor. I know I keep saying that, and I'm going to say it ton blue in the face. But being able to talk to those guys and just meet them face to face was a good thing. And I think it was the initial, building of what our team would be. About 3 or 4 months later, once we got to training camp, right? You still have a couple months of off season training. Those guys had to go back to, kind of where they were training, and everyone put in their work, and then we show up, whatever, May 1st, May 8th, and kind of hit the ground running for training camp.
And when, like you mentioned, you kind of hear those murmurs, but it's not official. It's not official until it's Instagram official, and Hamilton kind of hard launches their new contract. When you kind of start to hear those murmurs, are you kind of is your group chat blowing up, or is everyone kind of still focused on their off season? Because when a name like Kenny Lawler, I'm sure the DB room was pretty happy they wouldn't have to see him 2 or 3 times a year
Oh
going against
man.
him, and they could see him 18 weeks going for him.
Man, you're talking about like one of the best receivers in the league. I put him up there with a guy like Tim White, right? Like to me, going up against Tim White every day and having the ability to get better, like the iron sharpens iron. Like it's those type of guys where you're like, man, if we can get that other team's Tim White, like man, we'll be unstoppable. Like who's gonna stop us? So like when you hear a name like Kenny Lawler, who's like been in the league as long as he has, made the plays, game changing plays that he has, right? Like TSN top 10 type plays. Um, and you start to talk to your, for us in our DB group, and then kind of, a few of the guys that were working out here locally, like you're like, man, can we actually are we actually going to get that guy? Like, imagine if we had that dude on our team. Like, I call a guy like, Bo Levi, and I'm like, hey, what would it be like to throw to like Kenny Lawler all the time? Like, what do you think that would be like? And he obviously has his thoughts on it. Like, and then it's different from when you actually get into camp and start actually training with these guys. But yeah, like the DB group chat for sure was talking when we heard like, oh yeah, we might get Kenny. Like me and Jamal Peters kind of talked about it early in free agency. I would say as early as probably January when the league starts posting their free agents who might not be returning to their teams. Right, like I think by mid late January, like if a guy hasn't re-signed with their team, like it's a pretty good chance like he's going to free agency. So when we all kind of heard about Kenny, obviously we brought in the late Ted Govaya as our GM, who brought over a few Winnipeg guys that had those connections. I think me and Jamal were like, we were going to Ted's office and be like, hey Ted, like we got to get Kenny, like whatever we got to do, like try to find like what do we need to do, like you let us know what we need to do, and we'll lock it in. So yeah, me and Petey were super excited when we kind of finally heard the pen to paper, and then just to get those guys. Like same with Reggie Stubblefield, like a guy who, Grey Cup champ, had a crazy rookie season, like played like all 7 DB positions probably his rookie year, and Sam linebacker, right? Like to get a guy like that who's like a standout player, it gives you goosebumps really. Like in the offseason, you start to really think like, man, like we're building a contending type team. Like obviously there's something to be said about the quote unquote good on paper compared to when you actually start playing. But I'll tell you what, there's no better feeling than starting to lock down like some of the best guys in free agency, and then once you get to camp, it's like all right, let's start to put this together. Let's build a championship caliber team. And see what we can do here.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, I mean, I guess it's the CFL especially, and in any kind of pro sport, you're not fielding the same X amount of players as you are year over year. It's just the nature of the business, and it's
Mm-hmm.
kind of just how that works. But how do you, as kind of you're the safety, you've been in Hamilton for years now. You're kind of the elder statesman, if you will,
Mm-hmm.
of the Hamilton secondary. How does that kind of how do you relay that to a linebacker group when new guys come in? I know obviously a second overall pick is now one of your starting linebackers. You bring in kind of Julian Hauser from who was in Calgary, and he comes and has an insane season in
Yeah.
Hamilton. When it first started, how do you kind of gel together, or is it really just time and reps spent together?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is always like, what kind of culture do you have? Like, especially like in the locker room, because like at the end of the day, like if you have a locker room of guys that like hate each other or like don't really like vibe with each other, like it kind of translates to like wins as well. Like your talent can only take you so far. And I think some of these championship teams that have been, even to get to a championship, let alone win it, it's like you have to have a very obviously talented team, but you have to have a pretty like tight knit team to go through what you go through in an 18 game season plus preseason plus playoffs. Um, so yeah, I mean, like once you get into the training camp, I think the biggest thing with like young guys, and even looking back on myself, like when I first came into the league and kind of how I learned the ropes, so to speak, is really from those veteran guys, right? Like it's how quickly can you basically get in, like get like hop on the train because it's getting like the train's gonna leave with or without you. If you are a
Yeah,
rookie and you're showing up to camp and whether you're ready or not, like that train is gonna leave on June 3rd or 4th once the season starts, and it's like there's no like looking back, there's no hopping on 1 foot in 1 foot off type deal. So I think it's really getting those guys up to speed on like one, like the culture that we're establishing or has been established, right? Like, I mean, Hamilton for the longest time has been known for hard nosed defenses and you know pretty good football teams, right? So that, I mean, that's always the biggest thing from like a defensive standpoint. We try to, share with guys is like look at the history of the guys that have, played before you, right? The most recently the Simone Lawrences, the Ted Laurents, you go back now to the Orlando Steinauers, Rob Hitchcock, Angelo Mosca, Garney Henley, who I got, got to meet before his jersey retirement game versus Saskatchewan. We'll get into that, probably in episode 3 once we start that. But like really letting guys know like there's a standard that has been set in place before like you got here, whether you're the number 1 draft pick in the CFL or even the NFL, right? Like you have first round draft picks that come up here and end up making a career up here. So really getting across to those guys like, all right, we're building this culture. We're putting aside like our egos and what we want to aspire to be, whether that's individual awards or whatnot. Like, so we can collectively like win football games and ultimately win a championship. Cause like at the end of the day, all the teams across the CFL are preaching the same thing. It's like, okay, how do we build a tight knit team that wins football games and ultimately wins a championship? Because like you're judged by your wins and losses at the end of the day. Case in point, the 2024 season, 7-11 or whatever it is. I've erased it from my mind for the most part, but that's how you're judged at the end of the day. You're only as good as your last game or what you put on tape. So I think that's the biggest thing for those young guys, and having a decent amount. I mean, we have had a decent amount of like core veteran guys that had been on the Ticats or had been on previously. Like you bring in Julian Hauser, who had been on the team previously for a few seasons, and knows what the kind of standard is. So that makes things easy when you have guys like that just already know, understand, and they want to win. So yeah, it was an interesting start to camp for sure, to say the least.
And I mean, I think you hear about, especially with guys who have, whether it's in the off season or have since retired, and a lot of the times I've seen some jokes, or I saw some jokes in August when some guys were retiring from the NFL, and they were saying, once I had to do the 2 days of camp, I was ready to hang them up. What is camp like as a player, and especially with kind of these new guys? Like, how do you keep it light while also kind of focusing and having that iron sharpens iron without keeping it light without kind of sacrificing the work that needs to be put in?
Right. Yeah, I mean camp is a beast, honestly. Like a lot of guys retire because they're like, "Man, I can't do another training camp." Like if most guys could like, and you have to do it regardless. Like training camp needs to be done so you condition your body, get ready to play games. But like if there was a perfect scenario where like you were a veteran and you didn't have to do camp, but like you came out ready to play week 1 of the season and could sustain yourself for 18 weeks, then like obviously every guy would do that. But like camp is like the necessary evil to train yourself for what you're going to experience once the season comes, right? And then also like to gel together as a team, learn plays, communicate, like build all those fundamentals that you need to be a good team, and like also understand like it's just going to be difficult. There's double days, and mind you, they've been modified since probably your dad who may have played in the CFL 20 years ago, or your uncle or whatever. Like the times have changed. Like the safety is different, obviously, of the game, but regardless, it's still you're out on the field for a couple hours. You're in meetings basically the rest of the day, like to basically outline a normal day of camp. Kind of goes like this, at least for me. This is how it went for me this past training camp. So I would wake up probably around 6 a.m., 6:30, do kind of my things, read, whatever, do those type of things to kind of prepare for the day. Go to breakfast at 7 a.m. Try to fork down some protein because I know it's going to be a tough practice, whatnot. And then, probably about like 7:30, 7:45-ish, head over to, our locker room. This is at McMaster, which everything is kind of in the same place, so it's kind of nice. But yeah, head over there, kind of, start stretching, get my gear on type deal. I want to say we had to be on the field, and I could be butchering this by an hour, but I think it's around the right time. I want to say around like 8:15, 8:20, maybe 8:30, just depending, for like a walkthrough. And it could have been 9:15, 9:20, but I'm pretty sure it was 8:15 because it was training camp. Yeah, and then you get on the field, you do like a walkthrough with kind of like the different groups. And mind you, at this time, there's like 100 guys on the roster. So you kind of have like four groups deep at each position. So like you'll basically run through kind of double-barreled group 1 on one side, or group 1 and group 4 on one side, and then group 2 and group 3 on the other side, and they just run through the plays of like what you're going to run for the day. And then you'll kind of get into like a full stretch period, and then usually it's like individual or like some sort of like circuit type based thing where like you're broken up into groups. You go through different circuits of just like fundamental football stuff, like whether it's a tackling circuit or like a fumble recovery circuit or an interception drill or like a beat a pass rush type move, or type drill. And you do that for a couple minutes. Then you'll go into indie. So like all the DBs together do an indie period for usually about what feels like probably an hour, but it's only probably like 8 to 13 minutes, I think, depending. And then from there, you'll go into like a one-on-ones. Like it's the first couple days of camp, like it's all like you got to get your one-on-one reps and stuff like that. So wide receivers versus DBs. You'll go through that, and it's kind of like a gumball machine, like go through each position one-on-one. So like field corner, field half, Sam, safety, kind of combined, boundary half, boundary corner, and then just rip through that as many reps. They're trying to get as many reps as possible. So it gets filmed, so obviously the personnel side can evaluate it, and then usually from there, like to kind of buzz through the rest of practice, you'll have like a skelly period, which is basically 7-on-7, and then probably like 3 to 5 more team periods, and then you're off the field. Usually we're off the field around like noon, I would say, like give or take 12, 1 o'clock. So you're on the field from about like 8 to like 12 on like a single practice day. And then from there, you have lunch, you have treatment therapy, all that sort of stuff. And then like our first meeting is usually at like 3 o'clock. So you have like a 2.5, 3 hour break. But for the most part, like you're either getting treatment or you're eating lunch or like kind of, there's really no time to really like nap or anything like that during the day. So then you're in a meeting from like 3 to 5-ish, have dinner. And then you're in another meeting from like 7 to probably like 8:30, 9 o'clock, depending on kind of when the coach wants to let you go. Usually the first couple of days, like you're there the full time. Once you kind of get going, and if the coach feels like you guys are learning how you're supposed to, like we don't have as many corrections, then like you might get let off a little bit early. But for the most part, it's about like 7 a.m. if you wake up at the very latest to about 9 p.m. at night, and that's literally how it goes for about 3 weeks in May. And yeah, it's a grind. It's a grind. Like you don't really talk to anybody outside of the people that are, on your team. You might make the occasional phone call back to the wife or mom and dad, or maybe a former retired player that has been through it before, just to get their kind of like, hey man, how did it feel when you were 28, 29 doing this? Like, is this how it's supposed to feel? Like, just get your reassurances and stuff like that. And yeah, it's a grind, man. It's so much fun. Like the camp experience is like. It's like a summer camp. It's like you're there with your friends. You're just there to do like what you love. And while it is like tough, like the fact that you're going through it with like so many other guys, it just builds that like respect level for one another, that brotherhood, that bond, because you're literally seeing these guys every day from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. Which why by the end of it, it's nice to go move into your own place and like kind of decompress from everything. But again, I think it's a necessary thing that you need to go through in order to be able to play for the season. But yeah, it's always so much fun.
And is there, I guess, because you see the practice reports and kind of what you've outlined, like everyone sees kind of during the week in the season, like midweek, you see kind of Wednesday, Thursday, Friday practice for a Sunday game or Tuesday, whatever the dates may be. Why is it such a drastically different experience for a training camp practice than maybe an in-season practice? Is it because it's more focused on like conditioning physically, or is it more you're instilling different, maybe there's a new defense or something like that, and that's why you need kind of the longer days?
Man, I think it has to be like a little bit of all that stuff, honestly. Like it is necessary to like, okay, like learning scheme is one thing, like from an individual standpoint, but like learning it with 11 other guys on the field and making sure you guys are all on the same page, totally different thing, which takes time. The conditioning aspect, right? Like you have to get in football shape. Like some guys don't come to training camp in football shape, which is still crazy to me, but like that's to each his own. Depend, like however you do your training is whatever you got to do. But and some of those guys end up not sticking because like it's evident on film, like this guy hasn't worked out in like 3 months or hasn't conditioned
And
in
is
3
that
months.
like, sorry to interrupt, but like,
No.
is that what, when you say in shape versus football shape, like a guy, no player that's at a CFL training camp or playing pro sports is showing up and is not in shape. So what takes you from being in shape to football shape, would you say?
Honestly, like for sure, like your off-season like program, like however you're doing, like you gotta like the biggest thing if you're not like running a bunch, like doing more running than you are lifting. Like if your focus is more weightlifting than it is running, like you have it all wrong. Like, and I may be going out on a like limb here by saying that, but I like truly believe that like if you don't have like a really good program that like is either like being done by someone who's played in the CFL and understands like what it actually like takes to have like just have like a baseline season, like just get through the season type deal, like from a
Yeah.
maintenance standpoint. If you don't have someone that's been through that and understands like, all right, like I need to build my program so that when quote unquote my athletes get into the season, like they're not they're not feeling like bogged down by training camp, or they aren't getting into like day 5 of training camp and like pulling a hamstring or something like that. Which is a testament kind of to our team. Like I owe a lot of my offseason to our strength conditioning coach, Marcel's Bowman, who has kind of taken over my offseason regimen and remodified it and stuff like that to help me prepare. But we also like, I think we're the lowest injured team in the CFL from like games missed standpoint. So like speaks a lot to kind of his philosophy and how that is, you know, instilled in off season and into training camp and stuff like that. But yeah, like you can just tell like in camp, like if a guy's not in CFL football shape, like you can just tell like within the first couple reps, like oh they look like they're tired already. Like you can kind of see their legs are heavy or stuff like that. And like it's only day one. It's like man, like we got like 20 more days in a row. Like if like yeah, you're gonna get sore and stuff like that. But I would say like that's probably the biggest one. Is just like the first day of camp, like people not pacing themselves and not pacing yourself in a way of like, oh, like saving your energy, like so you're not putting out, you're all giving your all on the field. It's just more like being smart on the football field. Like, all right, yeah, like you want to make sure you're running the football, like giving your all that sort of stuff. But like, if you can't sustain that for 10 reps, then like, all right, you need to reevaluate like what you're doing. Like, so just stuff like that, I would say is little things that you can see. But also just the rules. The rules are so much different in training camp. Like there's the 4.5 hour rule that's in season, which some people don't like, some people do like. You know, it is what it is. Like at the end of the day, like you're either gonna put in the extra work to be the best you can be, or you're not. But there's the limitations of that. Like you can only be coached quote unquote practice meetings for 4.5 hours during the season. In training camp, I don't think there's like a specific rule to my knowledge, like which is why we can go from basically eight on the field till noon and then have like another like 2 or 3 hours worth of meetings. I think there is still like some sort of rule, but it's not like as strict as during the season. So I think that's why it's so much different than when you get in the season. That's why like when you get in season in normal practice, like normal practices for the most part are pretty easy compared to what you do in camp, because it is just that like that hard grind, get through it, like long days. Some you might not have good sleeps because like your bed isn't comfy. Like you just have to get over it and you have to get through it. And
Yeah.
you know you're trying to make a football team at the end of the day so you can put food on the table for your family. So
And you said with like some guys maybe don't pace themselves, not in
mm-hmm.
the sense of they go too hard too fast or they give it full effort. But do you ever see, is it possible to overexert yourself even if you're in football shape, like for a young guy or maybe someone who it's their first camp or they're coming from like a UFL or an NFL camp? And could they kind of overexert themselves just out of nerves and almost appear not in football shape, or is it pretty evident when a guy might be in football shape and is just kind of antsy to get going?
Yeah, I think that's possible. Like I even look back on my like rookie season. Like now I'll say like camp has become I think easier for me because I know what to expect and because I train, you know, in what I believe is the right way to, you know, prepare me for camp in a 18 game season, yada yada yada. But like when I first came to my initial camp as a rookie, like obviously there's the nerves. You're like, man, I got to show out. It's day one. Like I got to prove that I belong here. You know, that type of thing. And I got to take someone's job. Like there's just all that mindset and mentality that comes into like your first day as a rookie, and it can
Yeah.
be like a little overwhelming once you get on the field and you're like, oh man, like maybe I'm not at the pace of these guys yet. Like, you know, you're going against guys that are some of them, you know, some 6 or 7 years into the league, have the experience, know everything, and it like they make it look so easy. Like I remember my feet were hurting like so bad the first like 3 days. And mind you, this was off like the COVID year, so like there was a full break from the actual when the actual season had started anyway. But like getting back into cleats for not the first time, but like for like a consistent amount of time, because we had like the quarantine and stuff like that. But like my feet were hurting. I like dislocated my pinky day 2. Uh, like so I was in the crab claw for about like 8 weeks of that season. But like just like stuff like that, and it's like man, like I'm a rookie. Like how like was I going too hard on that drill? Is that why like I dislocated my pinky? Like maybe that's why. Like and I didn't really like have any regard for like my body. Um, there's obviously a time and place for that. Like when you actually play games, like it's totally different. But like from a practice standpoint, it's like you want to. They always say like practice like a pro, right? Like don't go like headbutt somebody for no reason, right? Like obviously O line and D line, they're gonna have contact because it's a little bit different based off their position. But like yeah, I would say there is kind of just that add a little bit of nerves that excuse me that can sometimes like you know make you feel like that certain way of like okay like maybe I didn't do all the proper training I did this offseason, but like it's too late now. Like we just gotta go.
So camp, you said it's grueling, gets a little easier in season. You kind of got to be in it. The off season is kind of the focus, and then that's not even considering the preseason games. So is it? You guys obviously have 2 preseason games every
Right.
year. I think that's pretty standard across the CFL. I think it's a home and away for every team.
Yeah.
But you have these preseason games, and how do you kind of as an established vet in the league treat those preseason games? Because it's probably less about I need to go make a play and kind of turn heads when you've been in the league and you've been on the same team consistently? Is it more you're just kind of getting the reps in? Are you playing kind of at 100%? Can you really play at not 100% even though it is technically an exhibition?
Yeah, I mean, I try to treat it just like a normal game, really. Like prepare the same way. Try. I mean, obviously it's a little different. Like you're not sleeping in your own bed, whatever, because you're in training camp. But for the most part, I try to do like the same preparation as I would week 1 of the season or week 18 of the season, right? Like you obviously do know that you're not going to play the whole game. You might play. You don't know when you're going to come out. Like they don't tell you. Like yeah, they give you a general idea. Like oh, you're going to play for like quarter 1, quarter 2. But like you may go in for the first. I think the first game. Maybe this is 24. I think this is the 2024 season of the preseason. Like I played maybe a series, and then I got pulled, or like 2 series, and like I got told like, oh yeah, you're gonna play like the whole first and like part of the
Yeah.
second quarter. So like it's really like at the discretion of the coach. Like if he feels like you know, you're at that level to play a game, then like he's obviously not gonna risk like the injury aspect because like there's a chance that you could get injured in a preseason game too, right? So I try to take like this standpoint, like, all right, I'm playing the whole game. Like when I'm
Yeah.
at the stadium, putting the tape on, getting my shoulder pads on, all that sort of stuff. It's funny because like for me, I don't put my shoulder pads on until like it's time to play the game. Like I don't wear them for warm ups or anything like that. I used to always do that like when I was younger and stuff like that, but I just try to like save all my energy because like there is something to be said about like having a tight shoulder pads on and like just feeling like you can't breathe. It's heavy, all that sort of stuff, and you start to exert yourself. And for me, I've been doing that since I kind of came into the league because I saw other vets doing it. I was like, oh well, they must be doing it for a reason. And it's to each his own. But I remember like just wearing my jersey in warm ups. And one of the rookie dudes, this dude had played in the NFL for a little bit too. But he's like, where are your shoulder pads at? And obviously, he had never seen me like actually like play in a game before. But he's like, I was just like, it's not time to play yet. Like I haven't put them on yet. Like we're out like warming up, right? Team warm up. And then like just looking back on that, like it's just so funny because like everyone has their own kind of like way they prepare for a game, like right, like for him it's like I'm in my shoulder pads, like we're ready to go type deal. But it's like
Yeah.
I mean I'm not hitting people in warm ups and stuff like that, so like for me I try to keep that as not like sacred, but like when it's time to get in the zone, like and the shoulder pads are on, then I'm like okay, like it's I can see red and stuff like that.
Play
Like I'm
football.
exactly, and like I'm trying to hit every single person in a preseason game as hard as humanly possible. Maybe even to the point where like I'm not like maybe practicing like proper like wrap up technique. Like even in the Toronto game, like I look back on that one, like I think I had like 4 missed tackles, dude. I was so mad at myself. Like I had one where I think I hit gosh. I can't remember. I'm trying to remember his name. No, I can't remember his name. Now I'm gonna look bad. But the receiver from Toronto, Coxie. Like he ran like
Uh,
a slant route, and I was trying to give him like everything I had, but kind of just like you're still trying to figure out, okay, where's my strike zone. There's also there's a few new like CFL rules on like where you could hit guys, like you and
yeah,
when you could hit them. It kind of just makes it really difficult as a defensive player as is. But like I threw like everything I had at him. It was like a second and like three. Like he got the first down, but like and this is like a plus minus play that I got graded for, and like I hit him and he went back like what seemed to me like 3 or 4 yards. Like knocked him back behind like the first down like marker. He's still up though, so like it's a missed tackle. But then like he
yeah,
kind of ran around, we tackled him and ended up being a third down. So like I mean that was a pretty cool thing for me cuz like I remember my DB coach like, "Man, this is a plus minus." Like
yeah.
I gave you a minus because he missed a tackle. I gave you a plus though because he knocked him back like 5 yards and we
You
got
got
off
to
the field.
stop.
Exactly. And then there was another play just like that in like the third quarter. I don't think it may have been Coxie again. Like I think it was him again. And I just had him lined up like did the thing where I just threw my shoulder in there, knocked him back a little bit, knocked him back around like 3 or 4 yards. Again, I don't know if it was him specifically. We'll run that clip at some point. Um, and then one of my D end Ty Garbett is like running the football, pursuing it. He gets hit back and then pinballs into him, hatchets the football out, fumble the ball. We get the ball back. So again, another one where my defensive coach was like, "Man, this is a plus minus. Like wrap him up, but like good job because you hit him back 5 yards and that forced a fumble. Like if you tackled him, probably not forcing a fumble. But
Yeah,
again, like that's the point of preseason. I remember even like those next 3 practices, I was like, all right, I got to wrap everybody up. Like I'm telling Kenny Lyle, I was like, man, like he catches the ball, like I wrap him up. He kind of gets mad that I wrap him up. I was like, man, I got to wrap you up. Like I missed like 4 tackles, and like and to the point where like now other guys are wrapping guys up, and our like head coach is kind of getting mad because it's like, all right, we don't need to be having contact. But like, I mean, those are just some of the things you go through as like a player. Like you're in your head for some reason of like, okay, yeah, like I missed a couple tackles, like now I'm gonna wrap everybody up and make sure that like
yeah,
I never miss a tackle again. But like inevitably in football, like those guys get paid too. You're gonna miss many more tackles. You're gonna, those things are gonna happen. But it's just funny how like those dynamics of like the actual game work. But yeah, I think that game I only played like maybe a quarter or two,
yeah,
and then you're out. You're supporting your guys that are going in, trying to be like the best sideline teammate that you can, like making sure guys are communicating with each other, things are going smooth. You're identifying things the right way, and then honestly just enjoying like being in the moment, especially like when we get to play at home for our preseason game and be in front of our fans. And just for a lot of guys that's like their first time setting foot on like a pro football like field. Like I didn't get a preseason
yeah.
game my rookie year because of COVID. Like my first game was Winnipeg week 1, like 30,000 fans screaming crazy. Like that was my first experience of a football game, so like I didn't get that kind of like primer of like what it's supposed to be like. So I think just reminding guys like, hey, enjoy just being in this moment, because like for some guys like you may not get this opportunity again, right? Like there's only 45 of us are going to make the active roster, plus probably about like 6 practice roster guys, maybe give or take some IR guys. But like from the 75 that we go into that game with, it's like, man, about 25 guys aren't going to be here, right? So
Yeah.
that's the biggest thing I try to remind guys is like, man, just be in the moment and like have fun out there when you're playing. Like give your all. It's always a fun thing to do for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, the preseason, you always get like it's kind of your chance to see the first look at a team.
Yep.
Like we mentioned with Kenny Lawler, Julian Hauser, you name the free agents, or in Calgary it was VA this year. Like it was the first time that Calgary fans got to see VA and the red and white and that sort of thing. And I
Right.
think they cherish it just because it is like as much as the regular season opener, it'll always be the regular season opener. Getting to see those guys and even getting to see guys like draft picks who are either going back to school or this is like you said their first camp or first experience, like those aren't really moments that are taken for granted in that
Right.
sort of aspect. But I think a lot of people just watching on TV or watching in the stadium can kind of forget that. I mean, these are guys living out their childhood dream, and they're
Yep.
doing it in front of 20,000 people. But I mean, we've heard some great stories. We're coming to the end of episode 2. Is there any story that stands out from 2025's training camp that you want to share, or any memorable moments?
Oh man, there's so many. Honestly, I love the antics of like training camp. Like obviously, you
Is
have
there a
your
team prankster you guys got?
oh, you're looking at one of them right here. Man, I'll have to see if we have any like video footage so like we could tie this in. Maybe clipping it or something like that. But one thing that I've learned is usually on every team, well, I don't know about every team, but for sure our team, like the O-line is the prank group. And I've befriended the O-line over the years, like, became some of those guys are really, really some of my good friends now. Um, but once you get in with them, it's like, all right, like who we pranking? Like one of the funniest things that we do is since we're all in dorms, right? Every dorm has like that whatever dorm size trash can, like those small little office ones. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And you'll be able to start putting this together as I tell you. But all the doors open. They're pull in. So like once you're inside the door, if you pull it and open it, the door opens. So what the O-line kind of came up with, and something that I've kind of tagged in along over the past, like I think like 2 or 3 years now, is they call them leaners, and you fill up these trash cans with not a ton of water, but a decent amount to where
Enough.
you can lean it on the door. Knock on their door, they open it, and then whoosh, your front door is filled with a bunch of water now, and now you got to walk over it. So, I mean, we got so many guys with that. Like that, and I mean, I myself was the recipient of one time. But probably the two funniest. I'll give these two stories because these are hilarious ones to me. The first one, we were hitting Gordon White, our long snapper, like every day, like just every day to the point where he's just like he was so upset. But we did one where I set a leaner up in his closet, so his closet opened out, and I somehow managed to set it up where when he opened it, it would fall out. Unfortunately, it didn't. But at the same time, when we were doing that, we set up a leaner on his outside door. And from there, like he was right next to the elevator. So we set up a phone like behind like kind of the trash can and like FaceTimed it from one of our other O-linemen's phone and then went and hid in the room. So we missed with the in the room one, like it didn't hit. We're watching the FaceTime and we're watching the FaceTime from one of my buddy's rooms. There's 3 of us in there. And how the rooms are set up, like each dorm has like you have like a shared, like a single bed, and it's like shared bathroom.
Yep.
So we see he's rooming with Mark Leggio, and he obviously knows the story at this point. But Mark Leggio opens his door, no leaner on there, peeks his head out, sees the leaner on Gordon White's door, doesn't say anything to them while they're hanging out in the room together. Eventually, he opens his door and wham, like all the water goes in there. We filled that one up pretty high. So like we're dying laughing on like the FaceTime video. Yeah. Trying to be quiet, right? We had turned the volume down on the other one so they couldn't hear. We see him come out like they're filling up a trash can, like he's throwing like protein in it. They go put it on my room. They have no idea. And then out of nowhere, they pick up the phone. They finally found that the phone was like behind like a carton with like overflowed trash next to it. They pick up the phone and like we're all like it's like face up on the bed, so like we're kind of like all out of it. And like he's like, hey man, like he knows it's not my phone. It's two of the dudes' phones, and he's just like, man, like he basically caught us. But it was so funny. Like they put like a protein water one filled. They thought it was me, but like it wasn't in the same sense. Like they wouldn't put it on my door, like or they just poured it under my door, which is hilarious. But that was that one. Then the second one, similar scenario. We got into Bo Levi Mitchell's room. He had his own room. In this case, own bathroom, so like didn't share with anybody. But we somehow, I think the O-line somehow snaked the keys off of him at some point during the day, like in meetings, like took his room key. So we go up there, and then we put a leaner. They put a leaner inside of. So his bathroom was same. It was it's either a push open or pull. I think it was a pull. They somehow like they used like a coat hanger, and like slowly close the door, put the leaner in there so that when he opened his bathroom door, there'd be a leaner. So initially he goes into his room. He hasn't gone in his bathroom yet. We put a leaner on his regular door. We knock on it.
He's got 2 right now.
So he's got 2. He like peeks his door open, and like if you slam the door hard enough, it'll knock it back up straight, so like it won't fall.
Oh,
so he does that, whatever, gets out of it. So
that's a vet move.
Yeah, vet move. If you know, you know. So he does that, knocks it back over. So there's no water that overflows or anything like that. And we all kind of just like wait there for a second. We're waiting for him to like open his bathroom door because like eventually like it's 9 at night. Like he's gonna go to the bathroom at some point, brush his teeth, whatever. So
Yeah.
there's like 6 of us in the hallway, and we're all waiting. We're just peeking around the corner, and then all of a sudden you hear him open the door, and then just a clonk, and then just water rush, and he's like, "Oh, like explicit word," and like just yells, and then comes and opens the door, and we're all just dying laughing in the hallway, dude. It's
Oh
just like
man.
man, and there's so many other like there's countless other ones. Like we've gotten so many guys. Like usually you get rookies or like kind of guys like we got Taylor Power, our one of our quarterbacks as well. He was not happy about it. We did 2 leaners on both sides of his bathroom and got him that way. But man, that's just the fun stuff at camp that I think just brings together that bond a little bit more. You're hanging out with your friends late at night, like, and then obviously
It
you're going
keeps it
back at
light
it.
too, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, yeah, 100%. So those are two of my favorite stories for sure from this past one that I really got a kick out of and was laughing for a couple days on those.
So are the leaners, have they kind of, are they part of the core values of the Hamilton Tiger Cat training camp at this point? There's no grit, determination, and make sure you check your door before you open it.
Yeah, I think grit, determination, run to the football, and leaners for sure. Check your door for leaners. We always joke about doing it to like a coach or like a personnel guy, but then we always kind of like chicken out at the last second because we're like, man,
You
like
got to be pretty well established to hit your coach with a leaner.
like I can't imagine like hitting Scott Milanovich with a leaner. Like I just don't know how he'd take it. I'd be a little nervous. Like I think he would find it funny, but like he would find a way to like make it super serious and like embarrass you in the meeting like the
Yeah.
next day, and then just make it a funny thing. But yeah, he's a tough one to crack sometimes. But yeah, maybe no one is really safe from the pranks at all. So we'll see. We'll see if we can keep developing it with some of the guys, and I'll throw that in at our next plan of who we're gonna prank next.
Well, that's wicked. I mean, I didn't know about a leaner before today, so I feel like I've learned something, and I think that's going to wrap up. That's going to wrap up the training camp episode of the season retrospective, and I think there's a lot of good info and just kind of learning. I mean, I don't know that anyone would really know about leaners until right now, but that and like kind of building team chemistry, preseason stuff, it's all just super wicked information. And
Mhm.
yeah, I think that's gonna wrap this episode, and we're into regular season football starting next episode.
There we go. We got a special guest coming. Hopefully, you guys stay tuned and get ready for the next one. Like I said, I hope you guys enjoyed. Kind of what we talked about. A lot of fun stuff, and there's some stuff that was left out that we don't have the time. But again, we'll be back at it next episode to crush kind of the first 2 games of the season. Talk with a special guest and keep building from there. Appreciate you guys for coming out. We'll see you on the next one.